Hello. Good morning, everyone. Please rename your profile with just the USN. USN is enough for your profile name. Please rename your account with the USN. With that, the name is there. It is not at all required. Just USN is enough. Please rename your profile with the USN. If there is any name, please remove it. Am I audible? Can anyone reply? Am I audible? Can anyone reply? Suchitra, am I audible? Suchitra, yes. Sudeep, Sudeep, whether voice is clear, can anyone reply? CR,
Yes, sir.
that whether voice is clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, good morning all. In the previous class, we have started with the basics of the Unix operating system. As I already said, in this semester, we are going to discuss both the Unix shell programming and Unix system programming. In our syllabus, they have kept two modules for shell and other three modules for system programming. In that module one, we have started discussing the basics of Unix operating system. As we all know, what is an operating system? It's a system software which interacts with the user, which interacts with the hardware, so many vagera vagera. And the why did the Unix operating system come into picture? What was the OS before the Unix? Before the Unix operating system in the 1960s, there was a batch processing system. Batch processing is collection of batch of tasks. Collect all the tasks, run at once, get the result of all the tasks. It can be 10 arithmetic operation, 10 any mathematical operation, any other processing. The problem with that is you won't get the result of middle task or the second or the third, any number task if you want, you're not going to get. Immediate feedback was not there. That is why they have come up with the multi-user, multi-programming operating system, that is a Unix. This Unix operating system, when they have developed using the language called PDP. The author who find out this Unix is was developed in the AT&T laboratories by this Ken Thompson. This Ken Thompson has developed this in the 1969, which is a multi-user operating system. Multi-users means multiple users will exactly use that operating system. at the same time. There is a multi-user. They can do their tasks. And how they have developed, how was the first software? It is through the commands. They has to enter the commands, they will get the result of that. If there are multiple commands, what they have to do? Multiple commands they have to enter. Uh, they can concat the commands and they can see the result of that. Concat is there is a pipe symbol, XOR symbol you have seen, OR symbol you have seen, right? That OR symbol, it is called as a pipe symbol in the Unix. That pipe symbol they are going to use for concatenation of the commands, and then they are going to uh, get the results of the commands. That was the first operating system they have developed. But the problem with that is the language they have used is PDP 7, which is called as a programmed data processor. There are so many other versions are there, 1 to 9. It was a machine dependent. If you have programmed for any computer, that software you cannot take it to the another system. It is a machine dependent program. That was the first version. That is why they have come up, they have sit with the Dennis Ritchie, who is a developer of a C program that you already know, and they have started developing the entire operating system, entire Unix operating system, which is a strong language that is called as a C programming language, because which has a huge libraries, which has a strong libraries. That is why they have used the C programming language to develop the Unix operating system. What was the main intention? That operating system should be portable. It should not be restricted to any of the machine, a system. Okay, but it was not a huge success. When they have developed, it was not a huge success. I'll tell you what they are going to do after the second version. So first version it was developed using PDP-7. Second version they have developed using the C language, but it was not a huge success. What they have done, I'm going to say next. First of all, see the components in the Unix architecture. In the previous class, I was telling the main thing is the kernel. The heart of the Unix is the kernel. This kernel is a mediator, and also the shell is also a mediator. This kernel is a mediator or a broker between the hardware and the shell. And this shell is a mediator or a broker between the user and the kernel. See this? See what the second circle you see here, so many concentric circles are there. The second, there is a shell. In that shell, you are going to enter the commands. That is a interface to what you get. How you are going to see the shell is, it is with the commands. That shell is a broker between the user. The user will interact with the shell. In order to get the result of the commands, the shell will interact with the kernel. Therefore, I said shell is a broker between the user and the kernel. In the same way, this kernel, it is a broker, intermediate between the shell and the hardware. Whatever the commands you have given, in order to get the result from the hardware, kernel knows how to get it. That is why it is an intermediate. Kernel is an intermediate between the shell or any other application program and the hardware. Without the kernel, you cannot imagine the Unix operating system, because that is why we say it is a heart of the Unix operating system. The main components when we say Unix is the kernel, shell, the graphical user interface is also supported. There will be a files, processes, system calls. These are the main things. See how you can imagine the Unix. We interact with the shell, shell will interact with the kernel, kernel will interact with the hardware. This is how you can visualize. As I said in the previous class, this kernel intermediary, what all the task it is going to do, what it contains. When they have developed the kernel, they have included so many libraries. When the Unix was developed, they have included so many libraries. That includes all the device drivers of so many hardware what you connect, already inbuilt device drivers will be there. If any hardware what you connect, the network card, graphics card, hard disk, anything if you connect, if it is not recognized by your system, the operating system, once again you are manually you are going to install the device drivers that will go and sit in the kernel. By default there will be a device drivers, and also extra any softwares that you add that will go and store inside the kernel. The kernel is very huge software. It performs so many tasks: input output management, what we enter, and the processed result, input output, the task under execution, the program under execution, which is called as a process management. Hardware's what we connect, getting the input from that or passing the result to that. Device management, files, the array of bytes, files which we call it as an array of bytes. We store hierarchy, maintaining the metadata of the file, everything that is a file management, and also the memory management. And I said shell. Shell is nothing but interface. See, I have installed the VMware workstation. Inside that Fedora operating system I have installed. I can open the terminal here, and here you can execute the commands. See, what command I have entered is ls. Ls is one Unix command. See, this is root login I have done. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Inside the root login, see here, this tilde symbol, it is going to indicate that it is a root login. ls is a command. What it is going to, it is going to list inside the root folder how many files are there, all the files it is going to list. This is a shell. This is a which we call it as a terminal here. Here, any commands you can enter. That shell, it is going to get the result from the interact with the kernel. Kernel will interact with the hardware. This is what the terminal. All the commands like this, you have to open the terminal, enter the command, and see the output. And we call this shell as a command interpreter. You have to remember the name interpreter, compiler, interpreter. What is this C language? It is a compiler, compiled language. What the Python, what you have heard, it is an interpreter. What is this main difference between this interpreter and compiled is, when you write a 10 instruction, 20 instruction, or 100 instructions. Remember, you have written a C program. Inside the C program, there are 100 instructions. You have done the mistakes at 100th line, 200. For every 100th line, you have done the mistake. Syntactic mistakes, semantic mistakes, any mistakes. What the compiler will do is, it will check all the 1,000 lines, and wherever the errors are there, it is going to point out the line number 10, 100, 200, 300, like that. That you have already seen in the C lab, the line numbers, which is a main headache you have seen. But the interpreter, how it is going to take, even if you give the 1,000 instructions, if there is any mistake in the first instruction, even though mistakes are there after the second line, it will not going to see those remaining 999 instructions. Just you have to correct the first instruction, line by line execution, line by line input it is going to take. That is why it is called as an interpreter. Interpreter, the shell is an command interpreter. If you write 10 commands, first command, execute, get the result. Second command, execute, get the result. If there are any errors in the third instruction, stop the execution. First correct it, then you will get the result, like that. Remember the name, interpreter. Shell is an interpreter. This shell is an environment. It gives an environment for the user interaction with the Linux. Initially, when they have developed, there was a command interface. Just like this, one terminal was there. You have to interact with the Linux with the commands. Later on, this graphical user interface means computer, just double click on that, do any operation, file operation, open the file, see text file, open it with a text editor. This is a graphical user interface. Or else, in order to open this new file in the terminal, you have to give a command which opens this file. If you open it with this file, then you are going to call it as a DOS. What you are seeing, command line interface. Everything you are going to do it from the command. But graphical user interface means you can double click on that, open and close. Whether this virtual machine is, are you able to see this virtual machine? Hello, are you able to see the virtual machine? Sanchita, are you able to see this virtual machine? Spurti,
No, sir.
are you able to see the virtual machine?
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
Visible, right?
Yes, sir.
You have seen those executed commands, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, thank you. The next is the shell. Shell, this is what the shell and the graphical user interface. The next thing you want to know inside this Unix is the files and the process. Files is nothing but, say this, here, in order to store some information, I have created a text document and I'll write something and I'll store, which we are going to call this as an array of bytes. Whatever I have written here, which we are going to call it as an array of bytes, but how exactly it is going to store this information? It is stored as a file with a name, other metadata are there. Like this, if you go to the properties, whatever you see here, name, type, size, location, volume, access, modified, these permissions, everything, which we call it as a metadata. And also there will be hierarchy. This is inside a root folder, that folder will be inside another folder. All the hierarchies will be there. All these things we are going to, they think it should be managed by the kernel. This is what a file. And what is this process is, the process is nothing but any program what you write, like this. If you open some software, if I open this terminal, or if I open this text editor, this text editor is a one software in the background. In the background, it is a software. In that software, it has to run means it has to come to the execution. It will go inside the RAM, in the memory it will go. And we are going to call that as a process. Some program under execution. Where exactly it is there? It is inside the RAM. Because in order to show the result, it has to be loaded into the primary memory. That is called as a process. I think in the task manager, you have seen, see in the task manager, you have seen the list of process. See here, see the details, zoom.exe, chrome.exe, all these are the process. There is a process ID also. Who has created, whether the user, whether I am running or the operating system by default, it is going to run that information. How much CPU that you are going to give and how much memory inside the RAM. See this, what it indicates memory is inside the RAM, how much space is allocated for the this software, this process. 170 MB, 170 MB of my RAM, that includes Zoom software. 40 MB of chrome.exe. If there are so many instances of Chrome, they are separately loaded as a separate processes. See VM player.exe. What is this? 7 MB inside my RAM. My RAM is size is 8 GB. 8 GB RAM. In that 7 MB, in that space, VM player software code is present. This is one process. In the same way, this is what this memory and some description about that software. These are all called as a process. These processes are under execution because whether the user has running it or the operating system is running it. These are all the processes. See here, out of 4 GB, out of 4 GB RAM, 2.7 is what already the softwares are inside my primary memory. Sorry, it is my 4 GB RAM. 69% is allocated for these many processes. Only one user is there. Is no multiple users. There are no multiple users are connected. Only one user. This is how the processes. Any program, any software you open, that gets listed in the processes. And we use one more term. Remember this. We use this term system call. The system call is nothing but you can directly visualize the system call like functions in the C programming. From the main function, in order to perform any arithmetic operation, sum operation, multiplication operation, or any matrix multiplication operation, you have written one function, matrix add or matrix multiplication. Why we used to write that? In order to reuse that code, we have written all the codes inside one function and we have given the name called matrix multiplication. From the main function, we are going to call that how many times we want. In the same way, so many jobs in the kernel, which is already been stored as system calls, as functions. All the programs have been written. For each program, there means they have as functions. For functions, the terminology what we use is system call. They are the APIs. What this shell is going to do is, if you enter any commands, directly we are going to, it is going to call the system call. System call is nothing but some function, add, open bracket, close bracket, multiply, open bracket, close bracket, small. It is like a function name. Inside the kernel, all the system calls are stored. How many system calls are there? Mainly 80 system calls are there. It is directly the shell will interact, or one process, one software which is under execution, it is going to interact with the other process using this system call. These system calls, it is nothing but the functions. You can directly think as a programmer, it is just the functions. The body of the function, it is already been written and it is stored in the kernel. Just with the name, you can do the system call. It is just what its name implies, a request for the operating system to do something on behalf of the user program. System call is nothing but the function. Remember the normal C function. That is why I have given example, matrix multiplication or any other functions or in the C program what you have done. Remember there are 80 system calls. There can be more than that, mainly 80 system calls are there in the Unix operating system. And also in the previous class, I said, what about the difference between the Linux and Unix? See, many of the features of the Unix has been carried out to the Linux, and also the extra features they have added in the Linux. And also the Linux is open source. Open source is nothing but anyone can get the code of the operating system. You can modify and you can do anything. There is no need required of license. No one will question you, why did you modify or why you are using it? But the licensed one is the Microsoft OS, the Windows OS. You cannot get the operating system code of the Windows. You will not get, even though if you get the code by any other means, you cannot use it for any business purpose or for you to develop any other operating system, because that is the licensed one. You have to pay. If they want to give Windows, Microsoft people, they are going to sell. That is the difference between licensed one and the open source. The Unix is not open source. The Linux is the open source. Remember, Unix operating system, it is not a Solaris is there. That is completely a Unix operating system. Solaris is. What we see, what we use, CentOS, this Fedora, Red Hat, all these things are Linux operating system. Yes, it can be any. It can be any operating system. It can be Unix or Linux operating system. It is enough for you to check the outputs of the commands. And there are different types of shells are there. We'll discuss that when we discuss the shells, K shell, bash shell, the C shell, which are developed by the different authors. Bill Joy, C shell, Born Again shell was developed by Brian Fox, and Corn shell is there. Shell is nothing but an interpreter. The terminal what I have shown just now in the Linux, that is called as a shell. The main next thing is the features of Unix. What is an outstanding features? What special is there in the Unix is these things. It is a multi-user. Multi-user is nothing but single user can run multiple jobs. He can get the result of multiple jobs at the same time. Or multiple users, more than one user. 10 users can use the operating system. That is called as a multi-user. Remember, in two ways, multi-user, a single user can run the multiple jobs, or multiple users, 10 users can use a single system. That is multi-user. Multitasking. Unix, you can call it as multitasking operating system. Multitasking is nothing but, see, whenever you run a software, 10 softwares when you run, maybe one software you are using at a time, which is running in the foreground, and remaining other 9 programs are running in the background. This environment is possible. Running a one job running in a foreground and other running in the background, which is called as multitasking environment. All these things was not there before 1969. When the Unix came, they have come up with this multi-user and multitasking system. Multitasking means running some program in the foreground, other programs in the background. Multi-user is nothing but multiple users or multiple jobs. And other 3 features are there. That is, some output is required. Assume that there is one folder. Inside that folder, there are some 1000 files are there. You have created one folder name. A folder name. Folder name is some class. Inside that, assume that there are 100 files, which is some 100 PDF. In that 100 PDF, I want the count of the files with starting with the letter F. If I want to do that, there are some commands. To list the files inside a folder, there is a command in the Unix called ls. This is the ls. Just now which I have shown, that is ls. It will list all the files. Next thing what I want is, inside that files, 100 files, I want the file count, the files with starting with the letter F or file name starting with the word uh, Sam. You have given the names, different names for 100 files, but if they need any file name starting with SAM, I want that count. For that, what we do is see like this: ls pipe symbol, next command word count. That will give you the that count of the word what it is required. See here, you are going to join multiple commands with the pipes. This is a pipe symbol. In this way, you can create the blocks. That is why they say it is a building block approach. Number of commands you can concat with the pipes, and also there is a one more feature called filters. Using the pipes and filters, you can concat the commands and you can get the result, or you can perform the task in a single instance. You can simplify your task. 100 commands are not required. 100 executions are not required. That is why they say building block approach is possible in the Unix, concatenating the commands. See, one more is feature in the Unix is even you have heard the regular expression. I think you have heard the regular expression. Inside a folder, I want all the names with starting from CHAP. See this. What this command it is going to give is ls chap star means it will give you the files with starting with the chap. There can be no instance, 0 or more. The star means 0 or more. Plus means it is 1. Minimum 1 should be there with file with the name chap. Question mark is optional. It can be there or directly chap. These things, it is a matching pattern, regular expression, pattern matching. This support is there in the Unix operating system. Matching the names with the command. It is one just example. Pattern matching. Give me the names which is starting with SAN. Give the files inside a folder starting with man. Like that. And one more main feature is documentation. See, if you want the details about the any command, see there is a documentation. See here, there is a command called man. That man includes all the information about the commands. Like this ls, see this ls you have given the information about all the files which is there inside the root directory. Here with the ls, I can give optional commands ls minus l, ls minus f. That instructions, all the details of the syntax of those commands, everything you are going to get in the man command. This documentation, the entire documentation of all the commands, they have stored inside the operating system. That is the main advantage here. You no need to go to the internet and see uh, the syntax of the commands. Using the man command, you can see the instructions, and also you have other internet sources where you will get the documentations of this Unix operating system commands. The main features of this Unix is file, multi-user, multitasking, building blocks approach, this pattern matching, and the documentation. The next topic is the another 2 minutes I'm going to discuss about this POSIX and single unique specification. What is this POSIX is when they have developed the operating system, I said that the Dennis Ritchie and the Ken Thompson, they have developed using the C programming language, which was not a use success, which was not portable. It was not very portable. For that, what they have done is, what was the problem is, there was no standard libraries or standard interface was not there. Standard is nothing but when they are going to develop, there should be some standard libraries. Everyone have to use. If they use those standard libraries, it can be a portable to the other operating systems. There were no standards to program. That is why they have come up with a standards. That standard so is called POSIX. See, I have not informed you to send your attendance. See, these 5 people, 123, 401, 67, 11, and 91. When I'm going to inform, then you can send. Now, you are very urgent, I think. Please, everyone send your attendance. And from next class, please don't send your attendance before I inform. And everyone, please rename your profile just with the USN. No name is not required in the your profile name. Please don't worry about the attendance. Please be attentive in the class. Why you are so urgent in sending the attendance? Those who have sent the attendance, you can exit. Thank you. If you have any doubts, you can contact in the WhatsApp group or any other platforms.